You need the benefits at that point. Yeah. So a lot of times the entry point for getting into like transitioning from journalism, a lot of times you'll find Hollywood folks, a lot of Hollywood writers come from either journalism, advertising, or some other creative space. When you got to Hollywood, did they look at you, particularly as a African American man, did they look at you and say to you, we're going to slot you into kind of easy places? Like for you, for Kemp, it was the black script, we're going to do rewrites. For you, it would be, well, let's do some unscripted black themed television.
For me, what it was, and there'll be a point where I'll circle back to that actual transition to Hollywood because there's so many lessons learned there. But let's skip to these first few days I'm here. So for me, here's the thing you should do was hip hop. Right?
Oh yeah, of course.
It was hip hop stuff, and that was my first lesson. I turned down every hip hop oriented job.
Really?
I refused work for like the first two years while I was breaking out.
Trying not to get pigeonholed.
I did not want to be pigeonholed. Right? Yeah. Right? Like literally like. And I was like, did y'all read my spec? Like the script that broke me into Hollywood was this big, it was basically like Star Wars in Miami, right? It was this huge like fantasy thing, but it was drawn from like Caribbean culture, and it was like the dark side of not the Force, but this other thing, right? It was a big expansive kind of thing. And cats were like, yo, Nas is trying to do this. I'm like, I'm good. You know how many Nas things I've done?
I mean, but they're trying to pigeonhole you.
Yeah, well, my fear. I mean, no one is like we're trying to pigeonhole you.
But no, but
you instinctively, you know, and I think like Kemp, by that point, I'm in my early 40s, right? So I'm also like a grown up.
Right.
It makes it harder and easier, right? So because I was in my early 40s, when I did make that transition to like, I'm not taking any more New York media jobs. I'm gonna write for my living. Or like, the walking away from your career at 40 with a kid, a successful career, be like, I'm gonna be a broke, starving writer. Right. Because inevitably, there's no way you skip that, right? It's almost like a badge of honor.
It's funny.
There's no way to graduate. Like, you be planning. I be like, I got money saved up. I got this, that, and the third. Nope. On Dad's couch, $5 in the bank. Can I get McDonald's? Like, it's just there's no way to skip it.
Let me ask you a question though. The collapse of journalism actually funded my transition.
Oh, really?
My last journalism job, full time, I was at a front page news editor at Yahoo. And I had just gotten laid off, but my stock was vested.
Right.
So when I kind of did the numbers, I'm like, I got 2 years' salary in the bank. And so I literally had,
we knew. Remember that conversation.
I got 2 kids, and I asked everyone. I was like, look, I can either just jump into this next job, or I got 18 months to get a check. And I swear to God, it took month 17 before the first check came. And I was sweating. But for that 17 months, I was only writing my own stuff and specking out, like write one thing after another. I didn't have to go anywhere. And it was just 17 stress-free months. I mean, I'm not going to lie. The Writers Guild keeps this all going. The Writers Guild is our health insurance. You don't have to be in the Writers Guild to do what you do, but once you get in the Writers Guild, it's possible to be an independent screenwriter in Hollywood.
It's like
have your kids covered. That's the golden calf. And that's the thing that, like, no matter what you're doing, you got to make sure you hit whatever your number is for the year and just get that out of the way to get a year's worth of insurance.
I'm looking back to what both of you guys were talking about, and in terms of like let's say for example, you can say it's a universal for whether or not you're a white writer, you're Asian writer, Latinx writer, but oftentimes, is it for black men, is it harder, or do you have to go later in order to get kind of like that big break where you're starting to do a lot more writing? Whereas maybe for a white writer, they come out and at 25, they're given a chance to do a sitcom, or their stories are seen to be more universal than African American writers. Would you say yay now?
I mean, my thing is, I think that of all the isms that we have in Hollywood, ageism trumps everything.
Ageism, really?
Ageism trumps everything. Racism, sexism. I mean, everyone suffers from it. And we're in this golden age, supposedly. But this golden age, to me, is just lots more jobs, not necessarily lots more careers. And there's a difference.
Really?
Because at a certain point, no one's going to want an old-ass dude staffing on some TV show. So if you're not creating your own ideas and selling those ideas...
You want to get to that fast.
Yeah, you got to get to that. Because if you don't get to it, they will get tired of your old ass, and suddenly no one wants you around no more, and people aren't thinking about that.
Are you guys? So did both of you work in writers' rooms?
Yes.
So I'm doing television now as well, but my path to TV came through being a feature writer.
Right.
See, I'm not probably as nice as Kemp is, or I have another really like my boy who I broke in with, because you kind of got to do this thing with fam, right? So like literally me and my best friend broke in together. Like we were both working in New York at the same time. His name is Carlito Rodriguez. He's a big time TV writer now. And he was like, TV is my thing, right? So there's kind of two paths to TV. One of them is the traditional hierarchical, you get your first job and you climb.
Writer assistant,
you climb, you climb.
Right.
The other path to TV, at least if you're a feature writer, is at some point your feature career feels or looks sexy enough for you to go like that and get your own show. Right. And when I came out here at 42, I was like, I ain't working for no 28-year-old no. I just
some show writers.
I just can't do it. You know, especially not excuse my French, not no white kid telling me what to do. Right. Like, I don't have that in me. Right. It's not
that's that 40s. That's that 40 hitting your DNA.
It's like I'm just two grown black men. Right. You know what I mean? You know, which is not to say there's not very, very good reasons. You know, like my boy did, like Kemp did. But also, I was more inclined to be a movie writer anyway. So so that worked for me. Right. So a lot of those things that I turned down early on because there was a thing 5 years ago. There's a whole bunch of hip hop stuff happening. Right. There was a Get Down. There was this. There was that. Yeah. And I just said flat no to everyone. I mean, part of it, yes, I didn't want to do the hip hop thing, but part of it, I was like, I'm just not the 40-something-year-old staff writer. I just
those 18 hours, 16 hour, 18
hour.
It's
a lot of time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feared ever being able to be that generator of my own content if I did that. It was a gamble. It was a really risky gamble. It's worked out.
It's a gamble everyone I think should take though, because I mean I got in. Working with one of my boys, we sold a spec. We sold a show to FX. Right. It didn't get made, but we were in development for 2 years. So coming out of that, the first time I staffed, it was weird because I had started in this process where I had my own idea, working with a great producer, and we were sure this show was going to get made. So you also kind of learn some of the things out of your control. There's no sure thing. Until you see it in the theater, or you see it on TV, anything can happen. So for me,
so y'all worked for 2 years on it.
2 years developing it. It's called development hell.
Yeah.
And it'll happen. You know, and we were just saying at a certain point, we were the ones who had to walk away. They ordered a third backup script, and we were like, you know what? If you're not sold on this concept now,
we can't do it.
We can't do nothing else. We're never gonna make, and we just had to leave.
Wow.
And go do, and the time that we did that though, like it's interesting. I was on season 1 of Star Trek Discovery. Right. The episode I wrote, I don't even let my agents send that around. They send around my unproduced spec. Because that pilot I sold that didn't get produced is one of the strongest that represents my voice. So now I'm actually just getting into feature work off the strength of an unproduced pilot that actually has that voice I would have never been able to show in a writer's room.
And that actually brings me to another thing. And a lot of times, a lot of writers, particularly new writers, their number one question is almost always, how do you maintain your sense of authenticity while kind of being in an industry? I mean, an industry that, is here to make money. How do you find and keep your voice? Because both of you have very distinct voices in terms of what you're doing, particularly in terms of all your work and all your work too, particularly in playwrights. How do you keep your voice while you're going through the real realities of keeping a job, or how do you do that?
Well, part of it is because we're grown, right? Like that's just like we're not to speak for Kemp, but at this point, at this age, having had some life behind you, like you're not fully formed. Obviously, none of us, are done, but you're sort of way down the road, right? Like I'm at a point now where I am, for my own show, reading a lot of stuff or whatever, and I can tell when I'm reading a 25-year-old script who just got out of like such and such film school and has got like no life, right? They all feel the same. Flat. They sound like they're technically, you know what I mean? But there's no. So I tell writers all the time, like even more than the dot the I's, cross the T's craftsmanship and this, that. And it's the same thing that was true in journalism as an editor. What's most valuable about you is your voice. Right? Your distinct voice. And your distinct voice is like the sum totality of you, right? Like how you see the world, the stuff you've been through, like put all of that stuff the best you can on the page and in your character.
And we would say that basically also the secondary thing would be both of you understood how to live life observe life and then experience life, and then you can create characters that really reflect that. Versus, like you said, technically great or technically good, but flat.
Yeah.
You know, when you
can feel the difference.
Yeah, you can feel the difference in terms of Would you say in terms of how you develop your characters?
Absolutely. I mean, it's a balance. I mean, I'm very. It's again, the time we're in right now is so fascinating. You could take everyone in this room, and we could do a gag session and come up with like the funniest, set of gags anyone's ever heard. But it's about, for me, it's like, it's amazing how hard it is to find someone who has a basic grasp of structure.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? If you're someone who actually knows the craft and takes their craft more serious than their personality, and you have a voice, people will kind of come to you.
Right.
And you cannot be afraid to say no. And I'm not saying say no because you got another gig. Say no even when there's nothing, because there's been opportunities that have been presented to me where I just know that it's a check, but that's literally all it is. And if all it is a check for me, that's a net negative.
Right.
I don't care what show it is.
It's the dominoes theory of all money's not good money.
Yeah, because that's a year of my life that I'm not going to.
It's too much time.
And I don't have enough. I mean, I'm 45.
Yeah.
And I'm checking my cholesterol. You know what I mean? Like
taking that Lipitor, making sure.
Yeah, seriously. Like if I were 28, I would have taken every single one of those jobs. But now I'm like, no, man, I don't have all day.
You're getting hurt going to sleep.
Yeah, my son's in high school now, and I told him, I was like, once you're out of school, I'm free.
Yeah.
Like my daughter's in college, and I'm just like counting down the days. Then I'm going to get real crazy.
Right.
So.